Good afternoon. We are happy to be back on the relationship and marriage hour. Today, when we left last week, we left with such a provocative topic that we were covering. And today, we left with hanging the 10 reasons to not to get married. And I believe we didn't get all of those points, but
Mhm.
our guest more to offer today. And we are looking forward to this afternoon. And before we get started, just let me introduce our guests, allow each of them to just say something this afternoon as we are back on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio, the number one African Caribbean diaspora radio station. We having some internet difficulty.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. So I guess Dr. McDonald is having some difficulties with her internet. So once again, welcome to the Relationship and Marriage Hour.
Mhm.
Our topic, we are continuing this topic on Will You Marry Me? And like
Yes.
Dr. McDonald was mentioning, we have this lovely couple, these veterans in the marriage
Yes.
arena. We have Pastor Kush and his lovely wife Suzette Darvel, and they are here today to give us a more information, a wealth of knowledge
Yes.
from their experience and what they do even there at their church. And if you are just joining us in this conversation for the past week, we've been talking about this, will you marry me? But when we started off by talking about, will you marry you? Now, if
Yes.
you won't marry you, why should somebody else marry you?
Yes.
And then last week we dove into this, will you marry me? Now that you found yourself, now that you love yourself, now that you are whole, you know what your assignment is, you know your identity, you know who you are and whose you are. Now you can ask this question, will you marry me?
Mhm.
Now this is a loaded question
Sure is.
It sure
because
is.
we are asking, will you marry just what I think, or think about, or will you marry my sister or my brother, but will you marry me? And
Mhm.
then it's who are you that we can marry you? And we're gonna dove into that. We're gonna dive right now into that, and I'm gonna turn this power couple loose right now so they can start discussing this topic. Will you marry me, pastors?
Yeah, Dr. Hepburn, we last week we ended by talking about the 10 unhealthy reasons and the healthy reasons. And the 10 unhealthy reasons we talked about was loneliness. Some people want to get married because they're lonely. They feel, I want to get married so I have somebody in my life. But that's not a very good reason to get married, because God dealt with loneliness. He said to Adam, it's not good that man should be alone. Yes, he should have a helpmate who's fit for him. But one of the key things is that God gave Eve to Adam when Adam was complete. Adam was already working. Adam was comfortable in himself. There was no one else around. In fact, God had to show up, Dr. Hepburn, and say to him, Adam, you know something, man? It ain't good for you to be alone. I will make a helpmeet who is fit for you. So, in other words, God presented him with something. So, it wasn't about being lonely. You see, Adam was alone, but Adam wasn't lonely. Second thing, pressure from others. Sometimes people want to get married or they want to have a relationship because they're pressured because everybody else has one, and so I want one as well. And where's mine? The kind of way. But God doesn't want us to get married because we under pressure. We should know who we are and the reasons why we want to get married. Because God Himself said it's not good for man to be alone.
And that pressure not only from um, peer pressure, but
Right.
also your parents
Yes.
saying, listen, why you're still in my house?
Yeah.
You need to get married. So
Right.
pressure all around. So you
Yes.
shouldn't be getting married because your parents
Right.
pushing you to get
Yes.
married,
Yes.
or you see peer pressure, everybody else getting married,
Right.
and you're the only one left.
Right.
uh,
So that's
not
not that's
married.
not a really good. Go ahead.
Can I jump in right there with a question
No,
for you,
absolutely.
pastors?
Absolutely.
Listen, you just said something that was just so powerful, and
Yes.
I don't want our listening audience to just not understand and not hear it.
Mhm.
You said Adam was alone, but he wasn't lonely.
Lonely. Yes, exactly. Very good. Yes. He was alone, but he wasn't lonely.
Explain that, please.
Adam was
Please
Adam was
explain, because many people may think that's the same thing.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and it's not the same thing,
Right.
because you are alone
Mm.
and you're totally satisfied
Right.
being alone.
That's right.
You're reading your Bible, you're having devotion with God, you're worshiping, and you're not lonely.
Mm.
You know, sometimes you even need to find time in the day to do the rest of your work because you're so full. Your day is so full. You're not lonely. Now, loneliness could be a disease
Yes.
where you need someone in your life. You're needy.
Mhm.
You know, somebody got to be in your life. If not, you don't feel like you're you,
Mhm.
and that's being lonely.
It's being comfortable with yourself. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Adam was comfortable with himself. Adam was getting on with his work. He was very consumed by God and his environment and all the things of God.
God had to present
God had to say,
Eve.
he had to say-
Wait a minute, let me present this woman to him,
Right.
because he was so alone.
Yes.
He forgot that. Oh, well,
Everybody-
gee, all these animals
everybody
and
has somebody.
the cat, the dog, the rat. He never said, "Well, where mine?"
Yes, yes, yes.
But when God did present, he said, "Oh, bone of my bone,
My God, my
flesh of my flesh." Then it
Oh,
come to him.
hallelujah.
Oh my
Hallelujah.
God,
Hallelujah.
I was missing out on something
That's right.
because he was alone but not lonely.
Yeah, and I think that's
And then too, that is so important. And let me share just something that happened in my life when the Lord brought my wife to me. It was during my time of devotion, and I said to the Lord, I don't want any woman in my life. I feel like me and your relationship is just now getting so good, God, that I don't want anybody else. And then the Lord said, no, but I want you to have somebody else. I said, but I just want you.
Yeah.
And if there's somebody else come in my life, she can take some of my time from you, and I don't want to give up that time from you. God, what are you doing to me? And he says, I know what you need, and this is what you need.
My God, my God.
Yes. Perfect.
That is
that
is powerful. Sorry, Dr. Kirsch. That is powerful, and I'm glad you said that. Adam was alone but not lonely, because there are persons that believe that Adam was lonely. You know, so I'm glad that is said and clarified so people can see you can be alone and not
There's
be
a
lonely.
difference.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
a difference.
And that's a wonderful
Go
place
on,
to
Doc.
be because you're fulfilling yourself. In other words, you're getting on with
Yes.
your assignment. You are so consumed by who God is and who He's called you to be. And many great people have discovered who they are, and God had to wake them up and say, okay, now it's time to give you somebody, because I don't like you to be alone. And so He gives us somebody that like. Another thing people sometimes would want to get married for financial gain. They see somebody striving and saying, boy, this one got a lot of money, and and this can make me wealthy. But that's a bad reason to really want to get married.
Yes.
Just simply so you can be financially secure. God wants,
or because the person is financially secure.
right, because some of
You're saying, you know what? Gee, if I marry him,
Right.
I don't have to work another day in my life.
yes, yes.
And so you see, and both sides, because I think Marie in the financial industry
Well, she was,
and was in the financial industry, and Pastor Kirsch and I, we were all in the financial industry, and we've seen where persons, especially the women, a man come into their life, and the man don't even work, but he saw financial gain, and so she married him, and then realized, wait a minute.
Right.
He's not even contributing to this relationship. And so you find persons, and we've seen it in the financial industry, that financiers who've married persons who can't contribute because they were looking out for some financial gain.
But that goes back to our point, though. Adam was working. You see?
Yes.
Adam was working. Adam
Yes.
wasn't looking for a woman who could take care of him.
Yes.
Adam was working.
Mhm.
And God said to Adam,
Mhm.
it is not good for man to be
But,
alone.
but you know, Pastor Kirsch, I take it from this because,
Yeah.
you know, it is said that in our culture,
Mm.
at least the Bahamas culture, 78% of the children born are born out of wedlock.
Mhm.
Now, I want you to imagine that. In other industry, in other countries, you find the same thing.
Yeah.
And so you have some of these guys coming up under their mother. Their mother took care of them. And so that's what they see, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a woman to take care of them. And so we need to debunk that, and we need to change culture and say,
Yes, yes.
you are
Not
the
male.
head,
Yes.
and you're the ones to take care, well, you know,
Right.
basically be the head of the home,
Yep.
and not you go looking out for somebody to take care of you because your mother took care of you. I mean, your father was not a part of your life. And so you see a woman,
Yeah.
and that woman is a representation of the mother who grew you up, who took care of you, who gave you money. And so that's your sense of your financial freedom.
Well, see, that's unfortunate. That's not God's original plan. That's not
Yes.
the way how God designed it.
Mhm.
So if you look at the Bible and you look at all the way back from the beginning,
Mhm.
see, whenever you want to know how things are supposed to work, go back to the
Go
beginning.
back to the original.
And the original plan was that God created the man first,
And then he said, work.
and the man was working.
Mhm.
However, though, he says, I will give you a helpmeet
Yes.
who's fit
Yes.
for you. You see what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes.
So Eve came along, and Eve was just to add to Adam.
Mhm.
And to add to him, meaning that she was there to help him and to assist him.
Yes.
So just as Eve was there for Adam for procreation and to enjoy life,
Mhm.
so too were these two who came together in partnership.
Yes.
And they were there to be there to assist each other and to help each other.
Mhm.
God says it's not good for man to be alone because
Yeah.
there was a woman out there
Yes.
who was fit for him.
Yeah.
Same way she was fit for him, they both together fit each
Yes.
other's life.
Yeah.
And so a woman is there to be alongside the man,
Yeah.
to help him. But he is there to be the head of the home.
Mhm.
And that's what Adam was from the very beginning.
Mhm.
He was there to till the ground and to
Right.
make sure that he took care of his family.
So basically, those who are listening and you've been brought up by a mother, we're not saying
Yeah.
that that's an issue. We're
Mhm.
saying if that's what you've been thinking, then you need to change the
Right.
way you're thinking. And that's why we're here.
Mhm.
We're here for information so that
Mhm.
you can make your marriage successful.
Right.
And so let's go to the next one. Social status.
Yes.
You want to get married. Unhealthy reason for social status.
Mhm.
You may come from the bottom, you may come from the middle, but you see somebody all the way up there, you know, their director, their vice president of their company. And now,
Yeah.
well, I could give you a story. I know a story of someone,
Mhm.
they had just gotten married and they were going all around telling people, oh, I am Dr. This wife. And they would say that without
Yeah.
saying their name. And so that was for social status. And like, don't you have a name?
Yeah,
What's
that's
your
right.
name?
Mhm.
What is your name? You don't have an identity?
Mhm.
And so the key is you're not getting married for social status. And we're going
Right.
to get into some of the healthy reasons, but this is an unhealthy reason for getting married.
So yeah, so when you marry, you should marry for love. You should marry
Yes.
because there's compatibility.
Yeah.
You should marry because this person is someone who's going to fit your life
Mhm.
based on your goals, your aspirations.
Mhm.
So sometimes people, as you mentioned, they want someone to help to fix the problem in their life, and
Yes.
that is loneliness.
Mhm.
So to get married so that somebody can take away your loneliness,
Mhm.
that's not a good reason. So that's a point. Now fixing your problems, whatever problems you may have.
Yeah.
Some people say, well, I have a financial problem, so I'm
Yeah.
going to get married, or I have a problem at home living with my parents. So that's not a good reason. So,
Yes.
and that's another one. You see, to escape from problems or emotional support.
Mm.
So getting married for that reason, you want to escape so that you can have some kind of emotional support.
Mhm.
That's not a good reason as well.
Mhm.
Fear of being alone is not a good reason as well. So I'll have somebody in my life. Everybody else has someone, so I want to have someone.
Yeah.
Adam was alone, but he wasn't lonely.
Mhm.
Adam was alone and he didn't need anyone.
Yes.
God decided to say, Adam, it's not good alone.
Mhm.
It's not good for man to be alone.
Mhm.
And he said, I will make a helpmeet who is fit for you.
Mhm.
So, Dr. Hepburn, this means not every woman can fit your life.
Yes. Yes.
Not every man can fit your life.
Mhm.
So it's good for you to be able to understand that there are people out there
Mhm.
who God says this person fits your
Mhm.
life. And so, fear of being alone, cultural or religious pressure. Sometimes, I remember as a young person joining the church, coming in. I tell you, man, it was like I felt like I was a piece of meat because every
Mix and
mixed
match.
back. Or you come in here, new
I have a
person
girl
walking.
for you.
Yeah, I got to, you just walk inside the door,
Yeah.
just get saved, and somebody right there trying to match you up with somebody, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, you have to make sure at the end of the day, you are ready emotionally, psychologically, financially, and
Because that
spiritually.
person who they match up with you
Yeah,
might not be the person that God wants for you.
Yeah.
We've counseled persons who are married now and said that the person told them that they had a dream or somebody gave them a prophecy. Yeah, we counseled someone just recently
Yes.
that God gave them the prophecy and God showed them them too.
Right,
And so
right.
you have to be careful, even a
Mhm.
false prophecy.
Mhm.
That person come into your life and they say, God say this is your husband, God say this is your wife. And
Mhm.
so this cultural and religious pressure,
Mhm.
you have to be very, very aware because this could be an unhealthy reason. You have to seek the word. What the word said, what does God say? How you feel about that person?
Mhm.
Don't let nobody match you up and it's not the person for you.
Yeah. Some people will try to get into a relationship on the rebound.
Yes.
They just came with a bad relationship.
Yeah.
So next first
It's another
person,
reason.
yeah, someone just sailing along. Hey,
Mhm.
you picked that one up. So you
Well, let's explain rebound.
So you just came with a
Because
different.
so we have different culture on
Yes.
rebound in the Bahamas is
Rebound is that you just came out of a relationship. You
Yes.
haven't had time to be healed from the previous relationship.
Mhm.
First person coming along,
Mhm.
you get latch onto them and say, okay, this is it. This is the one.
Yeah, but
So
also,
all you're trying to
also
do is because
to
of
hurt the next person.
not necessarily,
But
but
I mean, say some of the reason too,
Right.
because a rebound is, you know what? I'll show him. I'll show him that I can find
yes.
love. You
Yes,
see?
yes, I
He
see.
hurt
So-
me. Oh, I'm
Oh.
gonna get somebody.
Yeah,
And
right.
so some people
I got you.
intentionally go into relationship
Just to
because to prove that the person who they just break up with that I could find somebody
else.
and I could find the best person and you ain't it.
Right.
I got to show you this.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
sometimes they do the rebound.
Yeah.
They do it on the rebound because they are looking and seeking validation.
Mhm.
So validation meaning that there's something missing in them and they
Mhm.
want to be able to show someone that they can find someone.
Mhm.
So when you're in those kind of relationships, it's
Mhm.
not a healthy relationship. It's not the way
Yes.
God ordained it to be.
Mhm.
You're not trying to spite anyone. You're not trying to prove anything.
Yes.
It's supposed to be about love. It's supposed to be about God saying
Yes.
this person fits your life.
Yes.
This is the time and season for love. Because at the end of the day, you want someone who loves you, understands you, who wants you in their life, and somebody you want in your life.
Yes.
And there again, it goes back to fitting you in good terms, in terms of your destiny, your
Yes.
purpose, your
Yes.
lifestyle, what God has for you.
Mhm.
And when someone like that comes along into your life,
Mhm.
you end up living, Dr. Marie and Dr. Hebron, you end up living a very fulfilled life.
Mhm.
When the right person comes along in the right season of your life,
Yes.
in other words, you got a job, you know what I mean? You're working.
You're
Adam was working, he was working on his potential. He was working on the things that God, in fact, Adam had a great relationship with God. And that's
Mhm.
another key, Dr. Hebron. You see, Adam used to meet with God in the cool of the evening. There was daily, there was this relationship that,
Mhm.
that Adam and God had.
Yes.
So your relationship with God, where I am dependent on you, God. I'm crying out to you every day. It is you having a relationship with God because ultimately
Yeah.
we all need God in our life.
So basically, you're saying too. Then before you have somebody, then your relationship with God should be first.
Yes.
So your
solidified,
first love should be
yes.
God.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
then you go out and practice. That was Adam's thing.
Mhm.
He was first.
And you're working now.
Yes, and you're working. So
Yeah, you're
he
working.
found God
Yeah, you're
first,
working on your potential.
and then he found a woman.
yes.
So he find a wife, find
Yes, a good thing.
a good thing.
Absolutely.
And
You
that's
know,
why this is just so powerful. And that's
Mhm.
why I tell people that the way God counts is different than how we count. And when it
Yes.
comes to marriage with
Mhm.
God, 1
Yeah.
+ 1 = 1.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Oh,
and then and that's why I don't even like when I hear people say, "Oh, let me introduce you to my better half."
oh, yes.
Oh no,
Yes,
no,
yes, I know,
because in their mind, a half
Mhm.
plus a half = 1.
Yes.
But in God's economy, how
Mhm.
marriage should work, it should be
Yeah.
1 + 1 = 1.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Two
Yeah.
whole persons coming together
Mhm.
equal one.
Amen.
Everyone.
Powerful.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yes.
Absolutely. And so, we talked about the unhealthy reason, but there's also healthy reasons why you should get married. And so the number one is companionship. You want to have somebody who you can share your dreams with, your hopes, your desires, and together you're working towards a goal.
Yes.
When my wife and I got married, we were both in a good relationship with God.
Yes.
But we were determining this is the direction we want to go in. These are the things we want to achieve. And you want to be able to be in that kind of position whereby you know where you're going. See, the man must always know where he's taking the woman. He's the leader. And the leader must always know what direction he's going in. So his destiny has to do with what God has called his assignment.
So two blind people shouldn't walk together.
No, they can fall in the ditch. Right? They can fall in the ditch. But as the leader, the man should always have a vision for his family and for himself. And that ultimately comes when he gets a vision for what God has called him to be. So he'll bring someone alongside of him. There's also where you're emotionally stable. You're not wavering all over the place. You know who you are, who God is, and you're emotionally stable. You want to be able to also share your goals and dreams.
I love this one.
Yes,
Shared goals and dreams.
Yeah.
Because one of the things you'll find if you share your dreams, share your goal with the person that you're going to say, will you marry me?
Yes.
You find that they know what you want out of life.
Mm-hmm.
And if they know what you want out of life, they're there to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And we're big on purpose and potential. Because we come up under Dr. Miles Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you share your dreams and your goals,
Mm-hmm.
I feel and we feel that you help to bring out and help to make that person and help them fulfill the destiny, the purpose, and the plans that God has for them.
Amen.
And therefore reaching your maximum potential and purpose.
Yeah. So another healthy reason is also for your personal growth. That you want to be able to grow together.
Mm-hmm.
And when I met my wife, she knew my dreams, she knew my hopes, she knew everything that I wanted. But there's someone alongside you that a three-stranded cord is stronger.
Yes.
You see, and so when you find someone who's also knowing where you're going, that person can help you towards your goal.
And so iron sharpens iron.
Yes.
And so with your personal growth, you find sometimes that we're not going to always agree. Because this Dr. Hebron, if sometimes you have to rebuke one another, or even if you say it good, sometimes it don't come off right all the time. And so you have to be able to communicate it in a way that, hey, this is to help you. And God even wants, you could even get information from a child.
Oh yeah.
And so anybody can help you. But in the relationship, the healthy reason to get married is so that he or she can help you grow and become who you are. And then that's your personal growth. And so you should grow from one level to the next.
Yes.
Month after month, year after year, you should be able to see improvement because you should benefit from each other's conversation and whatever input you have to give each other.
Amen. And that's also, the great thing about it. We'll wrap up on this area. It's intimacy and connection. When you're in a good relationship, when you 10 healthy reasons to get married, it's for intimacy and connection. Because God said to Adam, it is not good for man to be alone. And so I'm telling you, when you have someone in your relationship, my wife and I remember from the very beginning, one of the first things that I knew that this woman was for me was we were able to spend days together, never lost count of conversation after conversation. We were able to continuously be talking. And that is because we connected at a conversational level as well. One of the things I said to God is, Lord, I'm looking for a woman, because I'd been in a relationship before, but you didn't have anything else to say. You run out of the conversation. You can never run out of the conversation. There's always talk going on. And so for us, intimacy and connection is having that conversation.
Yes.
Always being able to talk through a situation. Always being able to have intellectual stimulation as to what we want to achieve, what we want to do. But having communication is key. One of the key areas about having a healthy relationship and looking for a lifelong partnership. So I think that is definitely one of the great things that we want to highlight today. Pastor Susan and I also wanted to talk about today, when we talk about relationships, is that there are basically, all of us want to be in a permanent relationship. And so when we think about why getting married, is that we should have attitudes that relate to determining at the end of the day that we want to have plant the right seeds into each other's life. So seeds of permanency. First of all, you want a permanent relationship.
Yes.
And when we think about a permanent relationship, there are success keys that we want to talk about today. And one of them is communication skills, emotional intelligence, commitment and trust, and conflict resolution. You see, the seeds of success in any relationship, in a marriage, is you have to sow seeds during the time when you're dating.
Yes.
And one of the key things is you want to have somebody you can communicate with. And I think that's key. There is someone who is emotionally intelligent, someone who can manage their emotions. And then there must also be commitment and trust, and we have to learn conflict resolution. So those things, but the first thing that we come to realize is this: relationships begin, Dr. Hepburn, at the friendship level. And no relationship should ever start without, first of all, us learning how to be friends. So there are 5 levels
Yes.
to friendship.
And if you look at it as a pyramid,
Yes.
as you go up the pyramid, that's when you say I do. So at the bottom, you could go ahead. At the bottom of the pyramid is
The lowest level you'll ever have in relationships is where persons are strangers. That's the lowest level, the level where we don't know each other. And that happened to me and my wife. We didn't know each other. We had the same church all the time,
Yes.
been there for 3-5 years, and we did not know each other.
no.
The second level is acquaintance. That's
Well,
when
did you say the lowest level, strangers?
Yes. Strangers is the
Yes.
lowest level.
Yes.
And then you get to what is known as acquaintance, where you talk about general knowledge stuff.
Yes.
You know, we may see each other, we saw each other like that, general knowledge. In fact, I used to see my wife around church. I gave her a ride home, Dr. Hepburn. And when we started dating, she doesn't even remember the ride home. You know, all I was
That's acquaintance. I know his name is Kirsch, and I think he lives in wherever he was at the time. That's acquaintance.
yeah.
And so at these levels, you don't get married to somebody who's a stranger.
No, yeah.
You don't get married to someone who just acquainted. You only know their name,
Mhm.
and you only know maybe where they live.
Yeah.
You might know, well, they go to your church.
Right.
That's it? No. And so, like I said, as we go up the pyramid,
Mhm.
you'll find that that's the place at the very top.
Mhm.
That's the place where you say, will you marry me? Or I do.
Right. So you start off as strangers, and that's when we were at church. I would see her at church. I gave her a ride home one night. I could remember the whole conversation,
Mhm.
what we talked about.
Wow.
She even told me how she so she don't remember none of this conversation. All I was a ride home that night. You know, and I told her about how I like to go fishing at that time. Me and some of the guys from church used to go fishing. She said, "Oh yeah, I like to go fishing too." I could tell her the date. She still don't remember the conversation. But I remember giving her a ride home, right? So you really at that acquaintance level, right? Then you go to the casual where you share some common interests, are emotionally connected. So that's
Yeah.
another phase.
And
right?
the casual relationship
Mhm.
will be sometimes like we went out with lots of friends.
Oh yeah.
And so there were times when we went out to pizza.
Mhm.
Remember the pizza that used to be over Paradise
Swanks,
Island?
Swanks.
Swanks.
Yeah, Swanks.
Swanks is over Paradise Island. That was one of our places. Dr. Hepburn, you look like you
Yeah,
were
that's
one of
before-
those too. Went to
Yeah.
Swanks over Paradise Island.
That's before
And
time.
so that was a youth hangout. That was a youth hangout. And so we went to Swanks and we went to different places.
Pizza Hut.
And so this is a casual level.
Right.
Okay. And like I said, this is not at casual level.
Mhm.
You don't say, will you marry me at the casual level? You still
Mhm.
don't know the person.
Right.
And so we'll go to the next level.
So the next level is close friends. So this is where you share your common interests, your thoughts, your experiences, and you're moving up.
Yes.
So you're getting to know this person.
Yes.
The place where we begin now to talk about relationship and going to the next level is where we become intimate friends. Where
Yes.
we become committed to developing each other's character.
Yes.
And so this is where you get to that point where you begin to talk about marriage, because
Yes.
now you're getting into that intimate
You
stage.
pass the strangers.
You
You
pass
pass
the-
acquaintance.
you
You
pass
pass
the
casual.
Yeah.
You pass close friends. And now
you go on.
you've decided this is the one for me.
Mhm. Yeah.
This is the intimate
So the question
relationship.
then becomes, are you marriage ready? So most couples after dating for a while tend to wonder at this next level,
Mhm.
where do I go from here? And so
Yes.
we like to talk about there are 3 levels to getting to there are 3 phases. One is exploring and discovering phase.
Mhm.
Then there's the journey phase where there's experiential learning. Then it's the landing and touchdown phase. And we want to just briefly talk about those today.
Mhm.
Those 3 exploring stages, that's where you're asking a lot of questions. So when I first met my wife, I was asking her a lot of questions. Where do you go to school? How many persons in your family? What do you like? And what do you think? In fact, the first date we went on, oh, this is so funny. I asked her, after we spent a day together, hanging out with some friends, I said, listen, would you like to go for ice cream tomorrow? So let me also say this. Pastor Miles was teaching us on relationship. And he says, if you want to take a sister to church, I would ask her for ice cream. So I didn't even come up with my own original line. This is something he said. And so I said, would you like to go out for ice cream? So we all knew the script from church. He was telling us all, because the church at that time, the majority of us we were under 25 years old. We were a very young church. Pastor Miles at that time, I would have been 25. He's 8 years older than me. He would have been 33 years old at the time. Okay. And so he was teaching all of us as persons in the church who were single, how to get someone. So I said the same thing to her. So she said, okay, I'll go for ice cream with you. So I picked her up that day, took her for ice cream. When we got there, I said, so what kind of ice cream? She said, I don't eat ice cream. And I said, I don't eat ice cream. I didn't eat ice cream. So the two of us ended up to go out for ice cream, and none of us like ice cream. I'm only taking Pastor Miles to the line to take out, so we both walk out, and we didn't get to get no ice cream because none of us like ice cream, but that was his line. I used his line to take him out.
So a question then. So both of you knew then that you was being pursued, or Susan?
Yes, we know we had an interest. I had an interest, man.
Right. So it wasn't the ice cream. It's okay. He's interested in me. Yeah. Let me see what he has to say.
Yeah. So we went out, and that's our first date. It wasn't even a date. Yeah, you could call it first date, but we went out. But I think what's important is when you are at the exploring phase is where you want to get to know two things about a person. You want to see whether you have matching core values, and you want to see whether you have spiritual values, matching spiritual values. So persons, I know we back and forth in dating or not dating, but I wanted to go back because you want to be able to understand, do we share the same core values? And this comes by asking a lot of questions. And so we want to talk about general sets of questions and things you need to, at the exploring phase of these. Age, you want to ask this person, what's your age? How old are you? Because I can tell you from experience, I know of a guy who had married a lady who was 20 years his senior, and he was a part of our church some time ago, and I was like, wow, this guy. I mean, I thought at first it was his mother, but he was actually dating her. Not only was he dating her, a little later he married her. Yes. So, when you think about dating, you always need to think about it. And when you think about marriage, this age difference, because someone who is 20 years older, so yeah, you may be 20 or 25 and the person is 45. But I'm telling you, 20 years from later, they're going to be 65, you can be 45. That's a big age difference. They're in a different phase of life. Yes. So, when you're thinking about dating, you think about getting married, you have to use your brain. You have to use analytical. In fact, you should take your emotions out of the equation and begin to ask a lot of questions. Yes.
The exploring phase is that non-emotional phase. Because you're not emotionally attached to the person right now. And so you get out all of this before you get emotionally involved. And so that's why it's very, very important to explore during this time. You're asking all the right questions because you're not attached at this moment. You're not what we call in love yet. You're just exploring the opportunity to fall in love.
Yes. And so in this exploring phases, you want to find out the person's religious affiliation, which church you go to, how long you've been saved, you're asking questions because you're trying to figure this person. What's your educational level? Do you go to school?
And these questions are not just asked so that you could get information. These are asked so you could know what to do. For example, someone from Bahamas Faith Ministry dating somebody from a Baptist church, and then you say, okay, if we get married, you're saying if we get married, we said, so at the end of the day, would you leave your church? And so you asking this question because the lady says, no, I'll never leave my church. And so that may be a problem. And you say, I'm not leaving my church either. So you're asking these questions so you can make decision a little later when you reach the landing phase. And then there's the employment status.
Yes.
You take the one past the
yeah, are you working? I mean, that's a serious thing. Oh, yeah, I'm in between jobs. How long have you been between jobs?
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. 2 years. What are you doing before then? You know what I mean? So these are questions you want to find out this person is interested in working. Yeah. You are at this questioning stage. So before you even get to the question of I do, you want to be asking a lot of questions.
Mhm.
You want to ask questions that your parents married. You
Yeah.
know, he come from a single parent home, but
Right.
because these are things that,
Mhm.
not to say that's a deal breaker,
Yeah.
but it's important to understand how was your relationship with your
And
parents
it
at
could
home.
be a
you know?
deal breaker. You know,
It
I
could
was,
be.
I,
It
you
could
know,
be.
I'm a Monk fan, and just last night I was watching Monk,
Mhm.
and Monk had an issue, and the issue was when he saw his daddy for the last time. His daddy was saying bye to him, and he never saw his daddy, and he was 9.
This is a TV show. By
There's
the
a
way.
TV show,
Yeah.
Monk. Those who don't know Monk, but the effect that it had on Monk was this: Monk did not trust marriage. He couldn't trust marriage because at the end of the day,
Yes, Bob.
his father left him at age of 9, and all he saw was his father saying goodbye. Now, his daddy didn't say that he wasn't coming back, but he was always looking for his daddy to come back.
Mhm.
Okay, and this might be a real situation where, yes, your parents were married, then there was a divorce,
Mhm.
and that could affect. The divorce could affect. They said that divorce affect children just as much as it affects the adults.
Yes, it
And
does.
so you have to ask all these questions because that could affect how you think about marriage.
Yeah. So having these questions, man, talking and asking questions is so important. And you do this, Dr. Alvin, and also Dr. Marie. You ask these questions before you get emotionally attached to someone.
Yeah.
So you're just generally asking questions because all these questions can tell you how a person feels about marriage, how they feel about life, and you just say, man, so you're just talking to them.
Let's explore birth order. Birth order is another one in the exploring phase.
Mhm.
I mean, you know that the person was someone who was the number one.
Mhm.
Many say number one.
The first child.
They're the first child. Okay. Now the first child out of 9, 10 children, you know that first child, they are one who will tell you what to do.
Mhm.
And so you marry this person,
Mhm.
and then you're like, wait a minute, don't tell me what to do. But you know the person is the
eldest
person,
person, yeah.
the eldest person. The parents tell him, listen, when I'm gone, you are in control.
Well, that's how it is, Mom.
And so the culture of that person is, I'm in control.
Mhm.
And so now that you're married to this person, you want to control, you want to tell them what to do because you have 9 other siblings who you told what to do.
She's actually describing her own situation, by the way. She was the eldest child.
And people don't realize that is so important. And
That's
and,
important.
and I tell persons that even in our culture in the Bahamas, the oldest female,
Yeah.
you will find years later that the other siblings will say, "Oh, she bossy. She always thinks she has classy, always got to be in control." But the parents brought that oldest girl
Oh,
up
yes.
to say, "You're the oldest girl. You have to make
Mhm.
sure take care of all of your siblings. Make sure
Right.
everyone is in place.
Yep.
Everything."
Yes.
So she has been nurtured and trained in that.
Yes. Oh,
So how
absolutely.
can you expect her to act different
Ah,
30 years
exactly.
later?
Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes.
So our
Yeah, but this
history.
is so powerful. This is so
Yes.
powerful. But I need y'all to touch on something. Oh my Lord, this is just so powerful. I want y'all to go to the left and come back to the center, okay? Because what y'all are saying is these wonderful steps that must be taken.
Yes.
And if people follow these steps, it can lead to a beautiful relationship. It can
Yes.
even lead to a marriage that lasts forever.
Yes.
But you find out, and I think people muddy the water when they feel a little attraction and they end up in a sexual relationship. And now,
you went down the right direction, sir. Oh,
yeah, oh, okay, good. They went down that sexual relationship,
Yes,
and when
sir.
you
Yes, sir.
when you introduce sex, you might as well say communication is
Yes.
secondary.
Oh,
Third,
Yes.
that
Oh my God.
push everything down the line,
Mm.
and now you are focused on the sex,
Yes,
and I don't
sir.
really get to know who you are.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
so help us, please help us.
That is so powerful, sir. I'm glad you said that because you see,
Mhm.
sex makes you one in flesh. You see,
Mhm.
so
Yes.
all of a sudden now, a man will tell you this, man. He's okay until he's had sex with a woman. The whole woman change after that because once you've had sex, she feels she wants you. Why? Because that's an innate thing. She shared her body with you, so there's this oneness. As far as that's intimacy. You've gone from 0 to 100
Yes.
just through the sex.
Mhm.
So a woman can be very nice and casual and free with you and talking, and then you have sex. Then it becomes possession, becomes ownership, because she's giving you all that she has. She's giving you herself. The route that we take before you get to intimacy is you become friends and you get married. And in the kingdom of God, we get married. So you are learning, you're going through the journey phase. This is what we call it. This is the exploring phase, man.
Yeah.
The exploring is asking
You
lot of
jump
questions.
phases.
You go on and jump all the way to sex. Sex
Yes.
is the last part that
Yes.
comes.
When you say I do.
When you say I do, when you're married. So people jump far ahead and they're nowhere in the exploring phase of finding out about this individual.
Right.
Then they find themselves in the Bahamas, we call it shotgun wedding, right? So you get my daughter right. Guess what? You got to get married now, right? So you say, man, I'm put a shotgun to your back and say, you marry my daughter because you got her pregnant.
Yes.
So you now have to now take the time to try to learn this person. Then you find out, you wake up, we have nothing in common.
Wait a minute, I don't even know.
I don't even know you.
your mommy.
I don't know you or nothing.
So you still in the exploring phase,
You-
but you already explored what you ain't
You're
supposed to explore.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
Jump ahead
And-
into intimacy. Go ahead, Dr. Marie.
Yeah, and I'm looking at that, and I'm glad Doc raised that. Dr.
Yes,
Allen
that's a
raised
very
that
good point. Yep.
because I see people jumping from stranger to casual,
Mhm.
and then they go into sexual and never reach friendship.
Never
Yeah.
miss
So
a
when the
friendship.
relationship, when the marriage takes place, there is no close communication.
No.
None
And
whatsoever. No.
this is where we have a lot of our problems.
Yes.
Absolutely.
A lot
Absolutely.
of
When
marriages.
the thrill is gone,
Yeah,
when
Yeah,
the
oh,
thrill
yeah.
in the bedroom is gone, then they have
Mhm.
nothing else to lean on.
to lean
Right.
on.
Right.
Yes.
So
Because
all of
I
this
don't know
stuff-
you and you don't know me.
Mhm.
So we're not learning. So we have to actually go through the exploring phase before you get there. So you may be able to. So you have an exit clause. You know,
Mhm.
okay, we've explored. We realize we're not compatible. We're not on the same journey. Why? You don't have the same hopes, dreams, goals that I have. And this is what exploring does. Exploring makes you understand whether or not we should go forward in this friendship
Yes.
towards the next level. So there's this exploring phase before you get to the next level.
Mhm.
And so, you know, what is important here is being able to understand also. I see, Pastor Susie, you want to go? You want to go? To
No,
another-
no, continue.
Yeah. So you know, personal history. You know, asking questions. Are your parents married?
Yeah.
People don't understand. Are they married or are they divorced? You know what I mean? Because when you're marrying, when you're dating someone and their parents had a bad breakup, they had a divorce situation, you need to really sit down with that person and be able to try to figure out, well, what does this person think about
Yes.
marriage? You see what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
Because they come from this broken home, they've been through parents breaking up, a lot of arguments, a lot of fussing and fighting.
Yeah.
You know, you have to. How did you feel about that? You have
Yeah.
to talk through that and find out what they even think about marriage. Because
Yeah.
some people, when you start dating them, you'll find out, hey, I don't even want to get married.
Mhm.
You know, so you're there 2, 3 years, 4 years in, and this person is firmly saying, I don't want to get married. Why? My parents got, you know, they break up
Yeah.
and they were married for 10, 12, 15, 30 years. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so you have to really find out from an emotional standpoint,
Mhm.
this person who you're dating,
Yes. Yes.
what do you think about marriage? How you feel about it? And this is before
Mhm.
you go to the next level of saying, you know, I want to exclusively date you.
And we're still in the exploring phase.
still in the
So in the
exploring phase.
exploring phase, you need to ask, okay, do you even attend church?
Mhm.
Do you attend the same church?
Yes,
Do you agree on the same theology?
yes.
Do you believe in tithe? Do you believe in offering?
Mhm.
You see, still in the exploring phase, and
Yep,
like
yep.
you said, you already have sex, and you don't even know none of these things.
None of these things, man.
Do you pray? Are you interested in serving others? What are your spiritual
goals?
gifts?
Yes, yes.
Would you like to study the Bible with me?
Mhm.
And so I remember Pastor Kirsch, Dr. Halburn, some of our dating experience was we did. I remember we studied Romans together. I think we did Hebrews.
Yep. The
We
book of
did
Hebrews, yep.
in-depth studies. That was the part of our dating.
Yep.
We were studying, and I realized this demand for me because I was so interested in God. I
Mhm.
just want God. And so when he introduced, let's study Romans, let's study Hebrews, and
Mhm.
and we had a great time together in our dating experience because I was being fulfilled spiritually also
Right.
because we're studying the Bible together.
Mhm.
You know, we're praying together. And so it's key in the exploring stage because you could end up being unequally yoked.
You can,
And I
yeah.
think we were equally yoked because both of us, we were interested in God. We knew that God was our first love.
Mhm.
And you didn't try to convince me that God ain't your first love.
Right.
It's you.
Yes, yeah, yes,
And
yes.
so being equally yoked was very, very important.
Yep, on same spiritual wavelength. Both love the Lord.
Yes.
Both, not that you're perfect, the kind
Yes,
of way,
yes.
but you.
There's
but
no
you-
perfection.
There's no perfection. You're not
Perfect
perfect
person.
persons, but
Mhm.
what was important is this person loved the Lord.
Yes.
We had great communication, great
Mhm.
understanding, and we understood also about how to resolve conflict. So when there
Yes.
was differences, we learned how to work it out, how not to leave each other that night,
Mhm.
upset with each other. We worked through it.
Yes.
So those were very important things for us. We
Mhm.
shared the same spiritual values. We were
Yes.
unequally yoked.
Yes.
But the reasons now we want to look at how to proceed with caution.
Yes.
So how do you've been with this person now, you're getting to know this person, unresolved issues with X. That's another one sometimes.
Mhm.
Sometimes people have been in a relationship
Mhm.
and they haven't gotten over the last person they
Right.
were in the relationship with.
Mhm.
And so, this person, they come with comparison and emotional baggage. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yes.
They got all the time.
Well,
about-
my ex had money. My
Mhm.
ex did this
Yes,
to me.
and-
My ex took me out to dinner at
yeah.
least once a week. And my ex,
Mm,
I have not met your family yet, and,
Right.
and we've been dating 6 months.
mm.
Within the first 2 days, I met his parents.
Right. So it's just comparison.
Yeah.
So sometimes when people have been into relationships before you even proceed, how connected this person still is to their ex. You know what I mean? That because they come into this relationship with all this emotional baggage and different
Yeah.
stuff. And so, sometimes you got to put the brakes on
Mhm.
for some of these folks because
Yeah.
they are still so emotionally connected to the past.
Mhm.
They can't even face the future and the
Yeah.
present. So you're taking a whole lot of time now trying to get this person to get over.
Mhm.
Some people have been financial and legal issues with their ex as well.
Yes.
Could be have been married before, different stuff. Asking questions, persons who've been married before, all this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
before you say, I want to go
I
to
put
the
a
next.
plug in right there. Put
Yeah,
a plug in
yeah.
right there.
Mhm,
I used to be a officer, a loan officer.
mhm,
I'm at the bank, and I'll never forget this story because husband and wife came in to get a loan, and the wife did not know what the husband was involved in.
mhm.
And I look at their pay stub, and I said, "Okay, what is this $900 and some dollars?" And she was like, $900 and some dollars
You come
coming
up-
out of your salary?
Mhm.
And oh God, I had to be the person who calmed the situation. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And what happened is it was a previous or ex, not even a wife, an ex-girlfriend
Mhm.
that he signed for that he'll pay the mortgage.
Wow.
And you know what? They couldn't even get a mortgage.
Mhm.
They could not get a mortgage because he was already attached to somebody and he didn't even have any children with her.
Mhm.
Nothing.
Mhm.
And he could not even get out of it because he agreed to the bank that he would, his salary would go directly to pay her mortgage.
Wow.
And so I'll never. So
Mhm.
that is why you discuss. You have to ask the question. You already married now, and you come in front of the loan officer, and there's no money to pay a mortgage, none. Then the other thing you find persons, they max right out. You need to ask them. Let me see your pay stub. I know. If we are at the landing stage, can I look at just your salary deduction, please? What loans do you have?
Mhm.
Let me see your credit card balance. Because some people, you go into marriage with them, and I'm not saying don't get involved in them. I'm just saying have knowledge of where you're going.
What you get is
Have knowledge of what you're getting into so you can know how to act.
Yeah. Some people, Susan, also they got a mortgage for their money.
Oh,
For their
yes.
mother, you know what I
And
mean?
brothers and sisters. I've seen all that situation.
Oh, yeah.
If the two sisters signed together,
Mhm.
and then now you're married, you can't get no loan. So if the husband can't qualify, that's you.
Yeah.
You have to be renting for the rest of your life.
Well, at least for the next 15
Or
years.
until you get another
Or-
business.
yeah.
And
Or
brothers and
something.
sisters sign. So, you can't sign off for brothers and sisters, mothers, or anything
Mhm.
until you speak to your husband or your wife,
That's
or potential husband or wife. These things, boy, I know it's a lot right now, but I'm hoping that the listeners are able to get enough or glean enough information so that they can make the right decision.
And so,
You-
this whole journey, I mean, when you
Yeah.
look at the journey towards marriage, you say, what is the information?
Yeah.
Marriage is a very serious commitment.
Yeah.
When you say I do, you need to know what you're saying I do too. Because, I never forget, but years ago, I remember my parents were having a disagreement one day, and wondering what the disagreement was about. Because he gotten furniture for his mother and his sister for their house. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
like, what? You know what I mean? So these things happen where these are real life situations that can
Yes.
actually cause disruption in your marriage. So
Mhm.
we want to talk about also. So when you have to look at your well-being, your
Before you
self-concept.
go,
Go
before
ahead.
you go to the next point, Kirsch, Pastor Kirsch,
Mm.
I just want to plug a pin right there because we
Yes.
have a lot of young people that
Mhm.
feel going into relationship means having a boyfriend with
Mhm.
benefits, and then
Mhm.
from that relationship we go into marriage. How can
Mhm.
we help these young people? I know you're giving us a lot right now. This is a lot, and I
Yes.
pray that our audience are listening to know
Mhm.
what to do and what not to do. But at the
Mhm.
same time, we have people already in some of these situations.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And what I would like for you to touch on too is how can they now move from where they are to a
Mhm.
better place?
Yes.
Because, there are persons listening perhaps, and they are listening with regrets. Had I only
Mhm.
known all of this before I got into where I'm at.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
maybe if you have some solution for them. But just before you do, I just want to give a station identification and to let our audience know that you're listening to our guests, Pastors Kirsch and Suzette Davo from their fellowship pastors at Bahamas Faith Ministries. And you are listening to the Relationship and Marriage Hour coming to you from Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio with our special guest. And you can continue. You know, we want the audience
Yeah.
to know that we are here every Sunday. Our guests may not be, but we want them to be back again. So, Pastor Kurt, you can continue.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you're in the situation you're in, and the best thing you can do is begin to sit down with once you're married, you have to sit down with your spouse and you have to say, this is what the situation, especially when it's financially.
Yes.
So how do we resolve this financial situation? And my wife can tell you more from the financial side of it, is working in the bank. Sometimes you have to look at how you can consolidate all this debt, all the stuff that you have, right? And be able to look at how you can pay it off over time. So once you're looking at how do we pay this off over time, once this is paid off, then we can move forward with what we want to achieve. So it may mean sometime having to find an extra job or for a time period. I'm not saying for a long period of time, but going out and getting a second job or something that's going to help you, or that you have some other skills that can, that you work with your hands, maybe even at home, that you can do. Like my wife has done over the years. We've been married now for in November make 35 years. So my wife has been someone who used to make jewelry, did flowers, these things you do, Suzanne. She's had all kind of different things she's done over the years.
Yeah.
She's a caterer, so she's done a lot of things. Like when my kids were in university, she had a lot of different skill sets that she's developed over the years. So
Multiple income streams.
multiple income streams
That's
she's done in conjunction with working in the bank. So
Stocks and bonds,
I
trade.
don't know if you can say that now if you do trading, right? But the point is, some of us have skills that we can do on the side to make money. But the idea really is to pay down on that debt to bring you in a position whereby you can move forward with your life. The important thing is that you made a mistake. Confess your sin to one another.
Yeah.
Do not, harp on your spouse. See, if you didn't do this when you was young, we could have been ahead. No.
Yeah.
You married the situation. You're in the
Yes.
situation. How do we resolve it? How do we pay it down? How can we double up sometimes on the payment if you have that extra money? Why? You want to pay that down so that you can move on with your life. All of us in some way have sinned and fall short of the glory of God in some way or other. And sometimes we find ourselves marrying someone who did not make
With
wise
situations.
decisions when they were young.
Younger.
However, when you come into knowledge, through the help of God, you're able then to be able to move forward in paying down these debts, getting rid of them, and still having dreams for how you're going to be able to get your home or whatever it may be. it may mean it's just going to take a little bit longer. Why? Because you got yourself caught in a situation.
And that might be just one of them. It might
Right.
be that you get friends with benefits, and that benefit may figure, or you may say, I'm giving him sex.
Mhm.
And so you may have to say, okay, that's it. We're not going to have any more sex. And that may be hard because you're so far in,
Mhm.
but you could do this.
Mhm.
And so you may say, listen, I know we're there and we've sinned and fallen short of the glory. Can we stop having sex until we get married? And you know, it will benefit you a lot too, because then he will have to control himself. You will have to control yourself.
Right.
And then when you get married, the beauty of having sex, you know, guiltless sex,
Right.
guiltless sex.
Yes.
And so if you're at that place where you're having sex as
Okay.
Christians, stop, take a step back, and you'll talk it over and say, okay, we're going to preserve ourselves until the day we get married.
Or you can get married as well. The
Or you
Bible
could
says-
just get married,
Yes.
because I mean, some people want
Rather than burn, get
all
married.
of the
Mhm.
the trimmings. They want to go down in the white
Yeah.
dress, etc. But you could just go to
Pageantry. Yeah.
go to the priest,
Yeah.
get married, and you can have a big celebration later.
Right.
But you want to have guiltless sex.
Yes, and you want to do it, and that way you do it is you do it in marriage.
Yes.
So you can stop having it, wait until you get married,
Mhm.
or the Bible says rather than burn, get married.
Get
Mhm.
married.
Just
Get married.
But it's always good to also get married. Just what we're doing here today.
Mhm.
Get counsel,
Get
get
counsel.
direction. Make
Yeah.
sure that you're entering it with the full understanding, with
Yes.
wisdom as to what you're doing.
Mhm.
Just don't do it haphazardly.
Yes.
Seek counsel, seek direction.
And these sessions, they are just that. These are just sessions to help you.
Mhm.
You need to go, if you need to go to marriage counselor, and I suggest at
Mhm.
least 4, 5, 6 sessions.
Mhm.
And like when we first started, I said this is information. Information saves marriage.
Mhm.
And so when you get the information, just as you've gone to college for 4 years and you are working on that job because you know what to do.
Right.
In the same way, get the information so you could know what to do
Mhm.
in your marriage.
Amen. So, there is such a thing called, psychological well-being, your self-concept, how you see your own self.
Mhm.
And they say that most persons who are under the age of 24,
Yes.
they're not in a psychological position yet to get married,
Mhm.
and and the reason for that is because they have not yet settled in. A lot of times they
Yes.
may just come out of university, just trying to build a career, just trying to find who they are. Most persons, they say 50% of marriages
Mhm.
that the persons who get married under the age of 24 end up in divorce.
Mhm.
And that is because these persons are still trying to discover themselves.
Psychological well-being, functional dynamics,
Yes,
monetary habits, and social support. But I think you need to go to the last page
yes.
so we could probably begin to close out
Mhm.
on stage 3, which is the landing phase.
Yes. So,
Yes.
but before we do that, we want to talk about the fact that everyone, based on a study that's been done, says that each one of us has a marriage concept,
Mhm.
and so we need to know the type of person that we are marrying, because that person may have. We get 2 minutes. Oh my God. We have 2 minutes to wrap up. So all of us come in with the marriage concept, and we would develop a marriage concept from somewhere in our lives. There's what is known as a resolute mindset. There's also a rational mindset. There's a romantic mindset. There's a restless mindset. And there's a reluctant mindset.
Mhm.
When people get their mindset or their concept about marriage from very early.
Mhm.
For instance, I was 4 years old when I realized I want to be married. I was 4 years old. I loved the idea of marriage because I saw what my parents had, and there was a lady next door who was 21 years old. She used to call me her little boyfriend, and I said because she said that, I said one day I'm going to marry her. But she was just saying that's a little boy, you stick around, right?
Yeah.
But I understood even as early as 4 years old the concept of marriage. So marriage, on a resolute mindset person, is someone who has resolved that marriage is forever. A rational mindset person is someone who looks at marriage as, yes, I need information, just like the resolute, just like you're giving me information. Resolute mind people, they want information on marriage before they get married. A rational mindset is someone who also wants information, but they will also say that there's 2 ways that they will get out of marriage. One is someone will abuse them, and secondly, if someone abuses them, the next one is that if I forget another one, but there's 2 phases of it. So there's abuse and there's someone cheats on them, right?
Mhm.
So This person will rationalize marriage. That's the only exit clause. Then there's also romantic mindset where there's a soulmate, where it's based on knowledge, but the person is looking for their soulmate. They believe there's just one person out there for them. And when they meet them, they say, boy, that's my own. You know, both of my bone, flesh of my flesh. They think that's a soulmate because it is romantic and they feel that there's that one person out there. Then there's 30, there's the restless mindset, which is the person who can't settle because this person, he wants to play the field before they get married. So I'm going to wrap up with this last one, which is the reluctant mindset. This person, when they've never seen a marriage or seen it work, this person will say, they will tell you when you start dating them, marriage is not for me. This is what they would say. And so that reluctant person will never get married. They can date somebody, Dr. Alvin, for 20 years and not be married. You have children with them. But they will tell you from the beginning, I don't want to get married. But we have to determine what mindset do we have as it relates to marriage. But this mindset, this concept about marriage comes just from you watching people and you determining whether or not that's going to be for you. We'll end right there today. And there is 5 phases and each one of us around here has one of those. And that's important for us to understand. So we will wrap it up right here.
Powerful.
Very
Dr.
much
Maria?
so. Very powerful. This is so powerful. And listen, we are out of time, but not out of material, not out of information that we can share with our guests. And I wish to thank our special guests, Pastors Kirsch and Suzette, for such, valid and pertinent information that is needed, especially now. And I love the 5 level. We start from strangers, acquaintance, close friend, and then we realize this is the one that I want to marry. And that is so important for our young audience as well as the older ones. I had a question, and we're going to cut right now, but I had a question, Pastor Kirsch. You mentioned about someone getting married to a person 20 years their senior. Do you find that persons marrying like in that age range, the relationship lasts?
It can last, and there again, it lasts because of knowledge, information. Because you have to understand that person is going to be 20 years ahead of you, 20 years of experiencing things that you're gonna, if you live long enough, you're gonna go through the same thing. So you marry a woman who is 20 years ahead of you. You're a young man marrying a woman 20 years. She's going to go through that change of life, going through a change of body, where she's going to have an estrogen level that's going to be cut down. Her sex drive will go through a period where it wanes. She's going through periods where she's going to have all the flashes, the hot flashes, and the flashes.
She's 65, you're 45, and you're the prime. You're prime right now. Still have it one sex. You want sex 3-4 times still, and she's 65. I don't want sex at all, or almost just once, or just so that's the problem, and that's why you have to think of the whole picture when you marry somebody way younger or way older.
You are at different phases of life in that relationship, and these are things that
can cause friction.
It can cause understanding that different ways. So what would have been really, really love in the beginning can be where the person gets older and they're going through different stuff, as well as as the woman gets older too, her sex drive may even increase as well. It can happen, So there is after she's past the childbearing stage of her life, but that it's just more than sex. It is also the person on the decline. They're getting older. You know what I mean? And you're still young, you're still vibrant, as Pastor Susan mentioned.
You want to party, or not party, but you want to go out and they're like, no, I stay at home. And so there's so many different things that you go through. Well, there are different phases of life. You go through one phase, and he go through the other state, or vice versa.
Right, exactly. Depending on it. So we all, there's a life cycle, as you get older, and a person, and then your drive, your interests, and all that kind of stuff. It changes over time. And someone is at a different phase of life of you, that can be very, very challenging. So that's important to understand.
Yes. Thank you so much, our guest, Dr. Alvin. We are on borrowed time at this moment, but is there any final word you wish to say before we close out?
Powerful. Powerful. The information is needed.
Sure enough.
Yeah, we got to have them back, Doc.
I agree with you. So we will see how that works. We will get back to our guests and hopefully we'll be able to bring them back on again because it's not finished yet. There's much more. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Isabel.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
And it's a pleasure having both of you.
Okay.